Welcome back to Proving God Without the Bible. This is video number 2, which means that there's a video number 1. And in video number 1, I made the claim that God is real, and we can make a very strong argument for his existence using reason, logic, and the evaluation of scientific data. In this video, I want to give you a rule and a tool with which to evaluate my claims. This will be the same rule and tool you will use to evaluate anything else in this world, and it will form a basis upon which you can judge my first proof of God in the next video. The rule is we must come to agreement on truth. That truth exists and we can know truth. And this may sound somewhat silly because I think most of us agree in truth, but sometimes when you begin discussing matters of God, people will try to tell you there is no truth or you cannot know the truth. And at first this may sound somewhat intellectual, but when you dig into it, it makes absolutely no sense. If someone says there is no truth, I want you to look them in the eye and say, is that true? If someone said you cannot know the truth, I want you to look them in the eye and say, how do you know that to be true? You see, they are taking a truth statement to say there is no truth. It's what's called a self-defeating statement, and it makes absolutely no sense. Now, just because we agree that truth exists does not necessarily mean I'm going to be able to prove that God is real. In fact, just the opposite is true. If God is not real, you should be able to use truth to prove that out. But if God is real, well, that's an entirely different ball game, isn't it? The tool I need to give you is something called a logical argument. A logical argument is made up of at least 2 statements about reality that leads to a conclusion. For example, if I say that all humans are mortal, and then I say that I am a human, it leads to the conclusion, therefore I am mortal. This works fine as long as both statements about reality are in fact true. If either one is false, it leads to a false conclusion. For example, if I say that all humans are cold-blooded reptiles, and then I say that I am a human, it leads to the conclusion, therefore I'm a cold-blooded reptile. Excluding humorous jokes about your speaker, you know this not to be true because the first statement about reality is not true. The true statements I will give you are observable, repeatable, verifiable, which is how you learn things in science. I will give you 2 true statements to make my 3 proofs of God. The first true statement says, whatever has a beginning has a cause. It's what's called the law of causality. It's a basic fundamental principle of science. Science is the search for causes. So I think we can feel fairly comfortable that that one is true. The second one says that whenever you see complex design in our world, you can infer a designer or an intelligence behind it. And here I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Mount Rushmore and the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon, we can look at that area and make the fairly safe assumption that it could have happened by random chance over long periods of time with wind and rain and sand blowing through that area, creating that magnificent canyon. We cannot look at Mount Rushmore and make that same claim. We see a complexity on the side of that mountain that cannot be explained by random chance. We see human faces. Not only that, we see human faces we recognize. And when you see complexity like that, you can assume that there is a designer or an intelligence behind it. Now, I need to caution you, and I need to caution you rather strongly. Sometimes when you begin discussing matters of God, people will want you to agree on a statement that says that there are only natural causes in the world. There are no causes outside our universe. If you agree to that, you have ruled out God before you've even looked at the evidence. I am making claims about God that are backed up by data. I am making claims about a God who created our universe, created time, matter, and space, and thus is not controlled by time, matter, and space. If you say on the front end there are only natural causes in the world, you will be ignoring my claims rather than evaluating my claims. Now, I'm not saying on the front end we have to agree that there are causes outside our universe, but we shouldn't rule them out before we've even looked at the evidence. So if you're going to evaluate my claims rather than ignore my claims, we have to leave that one off the table, at least at the beginning. So we have our rule, truth exists and we can know truth. We have our tool, logical arguments. I'm now ready to give you the first proof of God. I hope you watch the next video.